Hey there everyone, Pal here, and welcome back. It's time for a different video rather than World of Warships or Star Citizen. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a palate cleanser. Going to be playing, or showing off a game that I've been playing quite a bit of lately, and that is Forza Horizon 3 on a Windows 10 PC. It's a little odd that I have to put that in there, but it's an Xbox One game that can also be played through the Windows 10 store. So you can play it on PC, but you have to play it through Windows 10. You have to have Windows 10. It won't run on Windows 7, Windows 8.1, or any of those like that. So it's a little weird to have to clarify that. We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about the Windows 10 experience and all of that later on. So I'm actually I consider myself a car enthusiast. I'm not a car nut. I'm not a grease monkey yet. I'm not constantly tinkering with cars, but I do have a fond appreciation of cars, especially the more exotic they are, the more unique they are, the more I appreciate them. And I tend to get my car kicks out of video games. Obviously, I can't afford all these random cars that I'd love to have. I'd love a 3rd Gen RX-7. I would love a WRX STI. I'd love a Skyline GTR. These aren't cars I can buy or own, so I play them in video game form, and that's where I tend to enjoy these most. Now, when you break it down, there's kind of like two different types of car games, in my opinion. They run the gambit, but you have on one hand, you have the more simulations type games. This is going to be your Project Cars and your Gran Turismo games. And then on the other side, you have your little more arcadey games. This is going to be like your Burnout games, also your Need for Speed games. And Forza Horizon 3 sort of falls kind of right in the middle of that. A little to the more arcadey side, whereas the standard Forza games fall a little bit more to the simulation side. And for what it's worth, I like them all. I really do. There's times when it's great just to get a random car, take it out, and run through a map, going a little crazy, pounding over off the road, on road, all of that, just having fun with it, taking a car out for a Sunday drive. But there's also times where I want to race on Laguna Seca. I want to do 10, 15, 30 laps on a raceway. I want to improve my times, learn the course, really get the ins and outs of the car. This is definitely the earlier one of that. This is not Gran Turismo. This is not Project Cars in that method. But it's okay for what it is. The Forza Horizon series has been slowly evolving towards the Forza games in terms of depth and complexity. And that's weird to say because Forza Horizon is a Forza game. But you have the Forza 1, 2, and 3, then you have Forza Horizon 1, 2, and 3. And they are different. Forza 1, 2, and 3 are basically Xbox's answer to Gran Turismo. You go ahead from a menu, you pick a car, you pick a race, you load right into that race, and you run X amount of laps on that race, get however many points, and move on, and you get credits from that. Whereas Forza Horizon games have all been more open world. They go back to, Need for Speed Underground, I think, was the open world one. They're more along that line, but what they've been doing more and more with Forza 2 and Forza 3 is a higher focus on being able to go into the options of the game, turn on and off things like traction control, racing lines, turn lines, auto shifting, auto braking, so you can start to make it more simulation-like. It never quite goes all the way there. You're not going to be able to, this game isn't as simulation as Project Cars is, but you can tune it fairly close to a almost simulation type game, or you can make it a very forgiving arcade game. The game does have a built-in not an auto rewind, but a built-in rewind that you can use to back up something like 300 feet, give or take. It rewinds you back from that. Now, you're not going to see me actually do that in game here because I have it turned off. I'm running this on one of the little more difficult settings, so I have the auto rewind off, I have the enemy difficulty cranked up a little bit. I only have turn indicators on, more just to judge my distance from the turn, as that's something that's really tough on a 2D screen. How far you are from a turn to gauge your distance. It's a lot easier in real life because of the 3 dimensions than it is on a video game where all of a sudden you're just on a turn and didn't expect it. So I still have that on. You'll see the options here that I'm talking about. So yeah, I find that the Forza Horizon games, they fall in a nice little middle category. They give me a little bit of both. There's absolutely times where I miss the true races. Well, Horizon definitely brings in some races. You're definitely going to do 3-lap races, 5-lap races. They're much more street courses. So they're streets, they put down barriers, turn it one way or the other. And while those are fun, they definitely are, and there's street races within NASCAR and all your other raceways. Your GT series over in Europe and all that have street races. They're not as refined or sophisticated, or they can definitely be just as challenging, but there's something different from them than a professionally designed raceway. And I kind of miss that a little bit. But still, for one game that incorporates most all of the elements from the arcadey side to the simulation side, it does a pretty good job. Not to mention, the game looks great, is running well, we'll come back to that in a moment, looks great, runs well, has a very deep car selection. It's not quite to the scale of Gran Turismo 2, but it's over 300 cars, I would say. I haven't sat down and actually counted them, 300-400 cars. Most all of the cars you're going to be looking for are going to be in there in some form. What they've done is, where in Gran Turismo you go over and you'll sit down and there'll be 9 different versions of the WRX. There'll be the 06 version, the 04 version, the 02 version, and the 98 version. Like, they do every new model of that car. Well, in this, there'll be 2. Whereas Gran Turismo, there's like literally 12 versions of the Mazda Miata. With this, I think there's 1, maybe 2 versions. So they've stripped out a lot of that redundancy and just taken the single best version, or maybe the classical version plus the modern version is what they've done. But there's still a very good car selection, especially in the high-end exotic and race category, street race category of cars. There's not nearly as many low-end odd cars, but there's a number of just silly cars in this too, cars you would not expect to see. So it tends to check most all the boxes. And as a racing fan, yeah, I've been really enjoying this. The one thing that Forza 3 does, or Horizon 3 does really well that I like, is I've always been a fan of rally racing. There's something about rally racing, especially on a computer, on a video game, that I really enjoy. And this does a very good job of mixing in street racing, track racing, and bringing an element of that rally racing in, which wasn't in the original Horizon so much. I think there was an expansion for Horizon 2 that added it in, but I never played it. But in this, it's right in the base part of the game. The game actually takes place in a small recreated area of Australia. So you have coastline, you have city line, there's like orchard area, there's like a farming area, then there's even the desert area that you can go into. So you get quite a few different environments to race in, and a number of those are really good for more off-roady type racing, which I've been enjoying quite a bit of. It's not all good though. Actually, how do we put this? It's not all good, but not because of any real problems with the game. In terms of the game itself, let's talk about it on PC. So this is a Windows, like I said, I'm playing this on Windows 10, which means you buy it through the Windows 10 store, which means it's using the UWP Universal Windows Platform. You have to download it through the Windows Store. By default, it's going to try and force the download onto your C drive. Now, since the last time I used UWP, you can change where programs install for this. It's through the settings. You don't actually do it from the store or from where you tell it to install the game. You have to go into your Windows settings, do a quick Google search if you're interested in it. You can find it there. You can change that, but it is quite annoying. It's also a big install. It's like 60 gigs, and the Windows Store is not fast. That's 60 gigs. I could normally get it in under an hour off Steam. I'd get it probably around 45 minutes or so. I got fairly good internet, if not exceptional internet. I'm not on Fios. I don't have fiber optic. So, yeah, I normally get that about an hour. We're talking like 4.5 hours off the Windows Store just because they don't have the bandwidth for some reason, which is annoying. Then you're running it through the UWP, which if you're someone like me and you're going to capture the video or anything like that, can be an annoyance also. It doesn't show up in a lot of the capture software. For most people, that's not going to be a problem. After that, then in terms of actual game performance, I've not had any major problems, though your mileage is going to vary. If you pull this thing up in the Windows Store and look at it, you're going to see a lot of very mixed reviews. There's a lot of 5s, and then there's a lot of 1s and 2s. A lot of people apparently had major performance issues. I've had pretty much consistent 60 FPS without ever dropping. Now, I do have a fairly beefy PC. I just rebuilt it back in December, so it's only about a month old right now. So I'm running a 6800K that's overclocked to 4 gigahertz, and I have a 1070 that is overclocked. I forget whatever I have the overclock on it, but it's upclocked about another 20% above its base frequency on that. So I have a top 95% computer for what I'm running, but I've not had any major performance issues. The game runs really smooth, looks really good, and is just really nice on the frame rate and all of that. Your mileage may vary. It seems like to me most of the performance issues have been corrected, but I can only test them on the computer I have. Now that doesn't mean I haven't had some problems. There was one problem in particular I ran into where there's collectibles on the map that you can get. One of the major collectibles are these things called barn finds. Essentially, they're random cars out in a barn. You have to drive around an area until you find the barn, at which point a cutscene will play where they'll reveal the car that you found, and then you'll be able to drive that car in a little bit. And I'd get to this one barn. It was like the second barn find in the game. The guy would open it, they would play the little video, and then the video would just stop and hang there. And the music would still be going in the background. The game wasn't frozen, it just wouldn't progress. And I'd have to kill the game, relaunch it, try it again, it would freeze up and everything. And I did some Google searching, and I found out I wasn't the only one who had this problem, no one had it fixed. Or no, it had not been fixed. But what they did find was a workaround was basically if you could get your GPU to look at something else, when you came back, it would progress. So I'd go in, I'd find the barn, I'd get the little movie to play, wait for it to freeze, then I'd Alt-Tab out, launch any old game that ran DirectX. I think I ended up launching Shadow Warrior. And then as soon as I would Alt-Tab back over, the video would be complete, I'd be able to move on. So yeah, there's definitely some little weird problems there. For me, they have not been game-breaking. They haven't been too bad. That was the one major problem I had to go to Google to find a solution for. That's only the beginning, though. The real problem with this game, why I'm going to have a tough time recommending it for everyone, is all the DLC and all the price tags on it. So the base game's $60, which sounds good. But then there's two additional versions. There's an $80 version, and then there's like a $110 version. Now, I bought it during the Christmas sale, and I got the $110 version for like $75. So I went with that, and I went with that because I saw that it had the VIP pass, which I thought was going to be the season pass. I should have done a little more reading. It's really not. What the VIP pass does is it gives you some cars for free, some fairly nice cars. It gives you them for free. You don't have to unlock them in-game, adds them to the game. It gives you some other car packs with it and everything. But mainly what it does is there's these wheel spins. They're like roulette machines that you can get. And every time you hit a certain level mark, certain amount of XP, you get one of these. Well, most of the time those roulette wheels are going to give you back credits, and I'll show a few of them going here. You have the chance of winning a car or two. You also have the chance of winning credits. Well, whenever you win credits, it doubles the amount of credits you earn by having the VIP package. So, like the $110 version, mostly what it added to you was higher credit return for playing the game, so you can unlock cars faster, and it also gave you some cars to go. For a $100 version, I can't remember if it's $100 or $110 version. That's kind of really disappointing for an extremely expensive system. If I paid full price for that and didn't get it during the holiday sale, I probably would be quite annoyed with it. Especially when you figure there is then a $20 DLC called Winter Mountain. Now, Winter Mountain's actually pretty cool. It adds a whole new area to the map. It's not part of the map just redone in snow. It's an entirely new zone that you have to load into, and it's a fairly large zone, heavily focused on rally racing, cross-country racing in winter, and the snow effect's really cool. They like to do these mountain effects. Racing in the dark, in the snow, is a really neat effect, but it's $20 on top of a game that was already $110. And all of the gameplay is great, but boy is it expensive. It gets even worse. There is literally a Sirius XM, FM, whatever you want to call it, radio station within the game. So the game itself has like 9 radio stations, which are with the base game. But then there's a premium channel that they want you to subscribe to called Groove Music. So you pay monthly money to have another radio channel within the game like you would with an XM station. And I imagine this is like Microsoft's Windows music service, similar to Apple's iMusic Now or whatever. I think it's probably similar to that, just incorporated into the game. But it feels so heavy-handed, where so many cars are locked behind paywalls or really high prices. There's $20 DLC, which is good but expensive, and then to have this radio station that they want me to pay a monthly subscription for inside a video game, Don't they know I can just launch Pandora? I can mute the music and launch Pandora? Like, really? And it's funny because the music in the game's actually not bad. I was pleasantly surprised. There's a Bad Religion song. They run, I forget which Bad Religion it is. I think it's No Control. There's some Muddy Muddy Boss tones in there. There's some really, like, music I like on a few of the channels. Like, wow, this is pretty good. But then you're flipping through and it's like, boom, groove music. You need a subscription. Like, really? Obviously, you guys aren't going to hear any of the music because I don't want this thing to get copyright claimed and striked. Although I don't monetize it, I just can't play the music, so I'll have a lot of that cut out. Yeah, it's such a mixed bag. In terms of a general all-around racer that allows you to do a little bit of simulation, but a little bit of fun. You can go off-roading, do jumps off ramps, but you also can do track racing. There's cross-country races, there's hill climbs. There's a lot of content, a lot of cars. Looks beautiful, runs at least well for me. Like, there's nothing really to hate from the gameplay. And then, man, Microsoft, what are you doing with these microtransactions and the cost and the DLC? There's so many card packs for this thing, and I've already paid would have paid $110 for the game just for that. I don't even get all of them. I don't get the Winter Mountain DLC pack. Like, man, it's so infuriating, because I would almost, if this game was, say it was a $70 version of the game that came with like all the car packs and everything, I would instantly recommend it to anybody that likes cars. But to add it all up, and even just going over to the store and looking at all the different car pack DLCs, it's hard to recommend the game. It's really going to come down to if you like racing games or not. If you do like racing games, this one should be on your list. I don't know if I pay full price for it, but keep an eye for when Microsoft has a sale going on. Definitely add it to your cart then, because in terms of racing games, it's quite good. There is one bonus, I will say this. Since I bought it digitally, I get it for both PC and Xbox One. And I do have an Xbox One. So I can play this upstairs on my PC, then I can go downstairs, pick right up, and play it on my Xbox One, back and forth. I just have to download the 60 gigs twice, so we're talking now 12 hours of downloading instead of 5.5 hours of downloading. It's good. It's fun. It's such a great racing game that is being pulled down by terrible marketing and pricing, and price gouging and microtransactions really undermine the quality of this game. And that's such a terrible thing. It's infuriating. Well, guys, that's Forza Horizon 3. A great racing game with some major problems on the side of whoever's charging for it and doing all those decisions. I don't know if I recommend it or not. I do enjoy playing it, though. So, for what it's worth, I do enjoy playing it. Until next time, though, this has been Power. Thanks for watching.